So recently I did two videos, part 1 and part 2 of fragrances I can't live without. Many of you said I should do one on discontinued fragrances, and this is one for you that wanted to watch this particular video. So I've got 20 discontinued fragrances I can't live without in this video. I mean, I can do various parts in this series, but I'm only doing one. Find out about the 20 discontinued fragrances that I can't live without in this video. Thanks so much for tuning in. Yes, we're talking about discontinued fragrances today. A lot of you don't like it when I talk about discontinued fragrances because you have a hard time finding them, obviously. So I kind of do not, well, mostly I don't feature them in regular videos. And then I do feature them in their standalone videos of discontinued fragrances. So those of you that see the title, you can skip ahead because you don't want to search out discontinued fragrances. But in this video, I've got 20 discontinued fragrances that I can't live without. I absolutely love them. And then also, there's a couple of bonus items as well. One fragrance, you'll find out all about it after the outro. But let's go ahead and get started. The first fragrance we're going to talk about is from the house of PENHALIGON'S. It's OSTARA, coming in this box right here. This is a unisex fragrance leaning feminine that I'm absolutely in love with. It's one of the best fragrances that got discontinued too quickly. This is the bottle right here. Created by Bertrand Duchâteau, and it's spring in a bottle. It smells like spring. And it features notes of Narcissus, green notes, Hyacinth, Beeswax, Juniper, Aldehydes, Ylang-Ylang, Wisteria, vanilla, and Benzoin. Such a magical creation. Really transfers me to spring under a lot of spring flowers, spring greenery, spring air. Just a really magical fragrance that I really love. I think that this is one of the best creations that Bertrand Duchâteau has done, but sadly it got discontinued too quickly. If you like the idea of Narcissus and the smell of spring, this is definitely one for you. It does come off powdery though, I do have to be honest, but the smell is magical. Amazing smell. But the next fragrance, Leaning Green, once again from the house of Tom Ford. Not once again, but kind of leaning green once again. But this is a fragrance called VERT de Bois, this one right here. So this fragrance is a fragrance that was in a series of 4 green fragrances, the VERT collection from Tom Ford. All 4 were really great. This is when Tom Ford was doing really great fragrances. The VERT collection is all gone. And this, all of them, as I said, VERT d'Encens is also good. VERT Bohème, VERT Fleur, all really great. But I think the 2 best ones are VERT de Bois and VERT Encens. But for me, I can't live without this one, and I have a backup bottle of this. It's such a great green fragrance. It's Ouzo note, poplar tree, olive tree, mastic resin, plums, jasmine, woods, perhaps leaning a bit Greek with the mastic resin and the Ouzo. But to me, it's like a forest floor kind of brightened up with, you know, bright notes and the Ouzo and it's like experience, the olive tree. Really love, really wonderful item here. There's lots of woods and earthy notes, as I said, but the brightness and the light booziness from the Ouzo, so unique, so great. Really one of a kind fragrance, and I can't live without this one. This is magical fragrance. It's very green, and the forest floor idea comes to mind, but VERT de Bois is amazing. But next, going to the house of Maison Francis Kurkdjian, it's Absolute Pour le Soir. This one right here. I can't live without this stuff, and I have this much, and I use it very sparingly. One of the best fragrances that Francis Kurkdjian has ever created. It's an amber fragrance, and I feel like this became Grand Soir, where he kind of stripped away all the animalics and the honey touches and just overloaded it with the resins and amber and balsamic touches. Here, it's definitely animalic and musky. It's honey, benzoin, incense, sandalwood, rose, ylang-ylang, atlas cedar, and cumin. And by the time I went back to buy this bottle, it was already discontinued. Man, it's so good. It's super amazing, super sexy. One of the best fragrances that Francis Kurkdjian has ever created. Sadly, it's discontinued. It's Absolute Pour le Soir. If anybody has a bottle, do let me know. I'm looking for a backup bottle of that with full presentation. So the next fragrance I'm talking about is another Francis Kurkdjian creation, Maison Francis Kurkdjian fragrance. It's a Ciel de Gomme, this one right here. So Ciel de Gum was a exclusive fragrance launched by Francis Kurkdjian's house, Maison Francis Kurkdjian, and it was an exclusive fragrance for a department store in Moscow. But during the height of the pandemic, this one got discontinued. Absolute Pour Le Soir was already an exclusive for their boutique after it got pulled from the States, because it used to sell at Neiman Marcus here, but they pulled that quite a long time ago, and like in 2020 it was discontinued. Height of the pandemic. Then a year later, Ciel de Gum got the discontinuation as well. And Ciel de Gum is definitely very ambery, and also lots of jasmine and cinnamon. So it's very warm, spicy. Red Hots comes to mind. So it's amber, jasmine, cinnamon, and you've got vanilla, pink pepper, and rose. So all very spicy notes. It's a really delicious amber. Really warm, really spicy, really vanillic and ambery. That's cinnamon. Red Hots. Totally Red Hots. But fantastic creation. Something about this fragrance also transports me to the 80s when I was in high school. Obsession had just come out and everybody was wearing, all the girls were wearing Obsession for the ladies. For some reason this reminds me of it a little bit. Not a lot, but a little bit. But anyway, such a great release. Ciel de Gum is amazing. If you can get yourself a bottle, do. I think you'd love that, especially if you like red hot fragrances. Alright, the next fragrance I cannot find the life of me. I know it's here somewhere, but it's hiding somewhere because I've hidden it. It's a fragrance from the house of Tower Perfumes. It's called Une Rose Chypre. So this is a fragrance that I absolutely really love from this house. One of the best, although they discontinued it. Tower Perfumes discontinued it. They kept Incense Rosé, which I also really love. Great rose fragrances, but this was very unique. This was actually not dry like Incense Rosé. This is more of a syrupy, ambery rose fragrance. Features 2 types of rose: bay leaves, cinnamon, patchouli, geranium, oak moss, labdanum, bergamot, clementine, lemons, and vetiver. This was a really jammy fragrance from Tower Perfumes. It did have the Tower Oud, the Tower DNA. You definitely recognize it, but not as much as other Tower Perfumes fragrances with an overdose of the DNA. Here it was pretty faint because this was, to me, something completely different than other Tower Perfumes. In fact, a lot of Tower Perfumes fragrances are dry to me. This, as I said, was syrupy, ambery, but lots of rose. A cheaper rose, but a beautiful rose. Satis discontinued. I do have a bottle. I don't know where it is. Hope I can find it. But moving on to the house of Dior. So this I feel like is only discontinued in the States, but sooner than later I think this will be pulled from everywhere. This got pulled earlier this year from the States, along with a few other fragrances from the Dior Privé collection. Feb Delicious. Anybody know this one? Are you a fan of it? Yeah, this is a great fragrance. Sad it's gone. There used to be a fragrance from Commodity called Tonka. That one got discontinued 3 years ago, and now this one's being pulled. Well, it's been pulled from the States. You can't find it in the States unless they have back stock. And then you can still find it in Europe from what I heard, but I was told it was going to get pulled from everywhere. But it's tonka beans, vanilla, caramel, dark chocolate, cherry, benzoin, leather, coconut, freesia, lavender. Super powdery. Tonka beans are king. It's a gourmand with tonka beans, so it's bitter, almondy. There's vanillic touches, sweet, caramelly, sticky touches as well. Then you got the fruitiness and the chocolatey touches. Absolutely love this one, but sad it's been discontinued. But there was a rumor this one was going to be discontinued for a long time. I've done videos where I was told it's being pulled. Never got pulled. Finally it did. Sad. We'll see how long it lasts in Europe everywhere. From what I hear, it is still everywhere, but most likely it's going to get pulled from everywhere as well. So this is Feb Delicious from the house of Dior. Moving on to the house of Nichane, one of my favorite fragrances from this house. Sadly, my bottle is not in the best shape. I do have a backup bottle of this one. This is Spice Bazaar. Look at this bottle. It's quite messed up, unfortunately. But Spice Bazaar was a Cumin bomb, and if you love Cumin, you've got to really get your nose on this. It's Cumin overdose, but there's something in the background was like cologne-esque, but the Cumin can be overwhelming for folks that don't like Cumin, because to me, it smells so good here. It's super sexy, sweaty, but also citrusy. It's very zingy. There's the yuzu plus the ginger, so give you that bitter zing ginger spiciness. Cedar, juniper, rosemary, cinnamon, pepper, saffron, and vanilla comes in as well to round out this one amazing concoction. But again, this is not for everybody because it's super spicy. It could smell like curry, body odor, things like that, and most people don't want to wear that. But this, oh man, it's good. Really, really great. So it's Spice Bazaar. I don't want to show that bottle because it's ugly. Wonderful offering. It's sad it's discontinued. Although that one actually might still be available at some places, but I know it's not really readily available. And this next fragrance from the house of KULDN by KULDN, it's Rose Oud. Rose Oud was one of the first fragrances I wore from this house, and I used to get compliments everywhere. Like, everybody used to tell me this stuff smells great. And I liked it because it's sticky, syrupy, thick, gooey, and it sticks on you, and when your body heated up, moving around and things, projection happens, and it's magical. So it's 2010 launch, and I absolutely love this one, and I liked a lot of their other oud fragrances. Least favorite is my musk. They kept the musk, although I think pure oud was my least favorite. But Rose Oud, man, it was a rose overdose. It was oud, but the oud is faint, kind of in the background, not necessarily like big, but saffron and creamy gaiac wood in here as well. It wore very creamy on me and really, really jammy. Super, super delicious. One of the best from this house, and sadly, it's gone. But I think they brought it back. I never really paid attention to it when they brought it back. But I discovered this in like 2012 and instantly had to have a bottle, and I was getting compliments left and right, and whenever I went to like a public setting and events and things like that. But either way, Rose Oud, such a great fragrance from KULDN. What are they doing these days? What kind of fragrances are they launching? So up next, going to the house of Balenciaga, it's Pour Homme, this one right here, classic patchouli, kind of animalic fragrance for men, dating back to like 1990 or 89 or 91, somewhere around there this was launched. It has that kind of smell to it for me. It's an instant love about this fragrance and for its qualities. It's very warm and spicy, definitely woody and ambery. Loads of patchouli and cinnamon, sandalwood, honey, coriander. But man, it's a powerhouse and it smells super amazing. One of those fragrances that men would put on and you can, you know, smell them a mile away. And it had great longevity. Here's my bottle, by the way. It's a 30 ml bottle, tiny. But wow, what an amazing fragrance this is. But I think it just didn't survive too long because the bottle looks pretty dated. They never really did updates on this bottle, but it's an amazing fragrance. But I think you can find alternatives to this, somewhat similar fragrances like Zino Davidoff, maybe a little bit of Guerlain's Heritage. Stay tuned till the end about Heritage as well. But Balenciaga Pour Homme is one of the best creations for men, dating back to the early 90s. But the next fragrance, also early 90s, going to the house of Givenchy. Givenchy, this is Incense, this one right here. This one apparently was a failure. Yeah, I saw it and it disappeared really quickly. But boy, this is a really great fragrance. If you don't know this one, it's a very unique fougere that came out in 1993, and apparently it was a failure. It was a bomb. Nobody really dug it or enjoyed it. It's an aldehydic fragrance for men with black currant, lily of the valley, lavender, fir, magnolia, and basil. So it's very aromatic. It's spicy, also fizzy bubbly. There's a fizziness about it because of the aldehydes, lightly fruitiness, and very green. Very, very green. But wonderful, wonderful. I'm going to put some on because this stuff is so, so good. Oh man, if I can find a fragrance like this today, I would literally wear it. But I cherish this bottle. This is one of my favorite fragrances for men. That was, I would call it a masterpiece, but most people didn't think so. That's why it was a failure. I mean, it was maybe too experimental for people back then. But Incense from Givenchy is really, really great. Let me know if you're a fan of that fragrance. Put a comment down below. But moving on to the house of Memo Paris. Yes, Memo Paris. I discovered this on a trip to Paris from their own boutique. Had to have a bottle because I really fell in love with it. It's a fragrance called Manoa. Manoa is a fragrance that reminds me of a modern take on Guerlain's Shalimar. It's so, so good. Very resinous, very balsamic. Lots of apopanax here. Tonka beans, labdanum, ginger, cypress, vanilla, iris, lemons, bergamot. If you like Shalimar but you wanted a modern take on it, really robust and beefy, just resins and balsams and amber all together rolled into this really spicy amber concoction. Woods as well and powdery touches. Man, this is good. Really, really great fragrance. But as soon as I bought my bottle on that trip, later I heard it was discontinued. And I never saw this fragrance here, unfortunately, in the States. And when I was there, I was smelling through the fragrances and really, really fell in love with it. This is a great fragrance, and it's got a great looking bottle, as you can see the label. Anyway, that's Manoa from the house of Memo Paris. Next, Annick Goutal's Vetiver, this one right here. This was a really great fragrance as well. A salty vetiver fragrance for men. I think it was, you know, targeted to men at the time. I think it's unisex though, but it's vetiver and spices, sea salt and tobacco, sandalwood and tonka beans. Yeah, they did really, really great fragrances back then. I really like the contrast of the vetiver and the salt. It adds a light, not necessarily marine layer, but somewhat kind of like a sea breeze, maybe a little bit salty air in the air kind of a thing, but earthy, grassy vetiver in this one, not necessarily really dry. And there's also that tobacco, gives you a bit of an ashiness, lots of woods. Really, really great fragrance. Wonderful offering. One of my favorites from the house of Annick Goutal. I can't live without that stuff. It's really, really great. And I cherish that bottle because that's the only bottle I have. Up next, going to a house called Kinski with Kinski. This one right here. Are you guys familiar with this one? So this is a sub-label of Eccentric Molecules. It's a Geza Schoen creation. But this is kind of animalic and musky, and I love that about it. It does have cannabis, but it doesn't wear like cannabis. I'm going to spray some on this hand. It's castoreum, cannabis, vetiver, oak moss, woods, juniper, musk, cedar, styrax, pink pepper. There's also marine notes, which I don't get much, but it's in there. Nutmeg, rose, patchouli, and labdanum. Oh man, if you like the idea of musk, a cannabis musk, if you like the idea of something like Musk Kublicon or maybe Musk Ravageur, but not that sweet, this is the kind of fragrance you should look into. It's almost like you're in the woods. There's lots of woods because it's very spicy and earthy and woody. And then there's this animal and you can smell the animal next to the woods. Pretty sexy stuff. Anyway, Kinski's Kinski, really, really great. Wonderful offering. Going to the house of Rocco Barocco. It's Joint from 1993. Anybody know this one? This is super animalic with civet, but it's authentic civet and not the fake stuff that they use now, which I'm fine with them not using the real stuff, but I feel like the real stuff smells really much better than the synthetic stuff. But this is a powerhouse masculine fragrance with civet, tobacco, basil, patchouli, leather, labdanum, honey, bergamot, aldehydes, artemisia, carnation, and vetiver. This is the kind of fragrance that men used to wear back in the 80s, in the 70s, maybe even into the early 90s when this came out. And this is the only bottle I have, and I will cherish this forever because it smells super fantastic. It's really beastly, really animalic, and like a powerhouse fragrance for men. Really, really great stuff. If you guys don't know this one, do get your nose on it. I will cherish this stuff. It's only 30 ml. If anybody knows if there's 100 ml somewhere, I would really get it. But Joint by Rocco Barocco is super fantastic. Mugler's B-Men is also something I will cherish and really, really enjoy this one. I love it. One of my favorite fragrances, B-Men from Mugler. Wore so much of this stuff. Really loved it to death. Still do. I only have one bottle left though. It's spices, licorice, patchouli, anise, vanilla, leather, cedar, cacao, vetiver, and musk. Man, this is really great. This is totally different than Amen. B-Men was different with its green, boozy, licoricey anise touches, but still had that kind of DNA with the patchouli and stuff. Really great creation, but I don't think it was a very successful fragrance. But either way, this is B-Men from the house of Mugler. If you were a fan of that one, do let me know. But moving on to the house of Azzaro, Pour Homme Intense. This came out in 2015. Man, it's so good. It's like taking the original to the boozy direction, making it really super sexy. This is it right here. Wow, this is so good. Created by Olivier Pechot with cinnamon, brandy, amber, tonka beans, and vetiver. It's one of a kind. Still has that DNA of the original from 1978, but very modern with the booziness. But, you know, I think modern generation that don't like fragrances of yesteryear might not dig this because it does have that DNA. But I feel like the brandy, the booziness in this makes it quite modern. So, so good. Really can't live without this one, so thankfully I have this large bottle, and I have a 30 ml bottle of that as well because it smells super, super delicious. I was so grateful to have been able to get a bottle of this late last year, gifted to me by one of my friends here in the city. This is Gucci Envy for Men. Were you guys a fan of this one? I wore 2 bottles of this in the late 90s into the early 2000s. I love the ginger and sandalwood combo with the incense and cardamom with vanilla. There's lavender here, pepper, carnation, cedar, tobacco, amber, vetiver, patchouli, leather, and coriander. I feel like, from what I hear, this is when Tom Ford used to work at Gucci. He was responsible for launching this one, and then also Gucci Rush. But this is a really, really great designer fragrance. They don't make fragrances like this anymore, where they make these very interesting, unique creations and, you know, wonderful offerings. But, you know, I feel like people's noses and tastes change, and so this probably wouldn't, you know, be successful today. But still, man, this is a really, really great stuff. It's ginger sandalwood combo, very intoxicating. So that's Gucci Envy for Men. Love that bottle. I love the green juice. Then Narciso Rodriguez for him in the EDT, and then also the EDP. Can't live it. These stuff are so great. Created by Francis KURKDJIAN, and it's like, I feel like the EDP is a bit muskier than the EDT. But these are really, really great creations from Francis KURKDJIAN. It's violet leaves, musk, patchouli, and amber. Super kind of earthy and ozonic. And, you know, like people used to say, it's like wet concrete, like just after it's rained or just before it's raining. I can kind of get that idea because of the violet leaves. It's ozonic touches. There's a bit of a mineral quality in there as well. But really wonderful. It's supposed to be like a modern take on a fougere. I don't know if I get the fougere vibes, but really a wonderful offering. These are discontinued and really, really expensive. So wonderful fragrances from the house of Narciso Rodriguez. Their new series is okay. The Parfum is really, really great, but those I feel like are really wonderful. Next, Dolce & Gabbana's By Him. This one right here. Another fragrance that I was thankful to be able to get early this year. Wonderful fragrances, and I have the duo, the male, him, and the her. And the male is the zebra, and then the female is the animal, the other animal. So it's sandalwood, lavender, tobacco, leather, amber, artemisia, nutmeg, pepper, gaiac wood. And I feel like this is like a modern take on a fougere, very late 90s for sure. But this fragrance did not last too long. I think it came and went. Maybe it was just a bit too daring at the time. I don't think it's a daring fragrance though. Maybe the bottles were just a bit too much. But really great collectible bottles, I think. By him, really wonderful, and smells really, really great. Sandalwood lavender combo, you know, with tobacco, leather, and things like that. Definitely job well done. Great collector's item. But either way, this is By Him from Dolce & Gabbana. Really, really great fragrance. And last but not least, this is a great find from earlier this year. This is Ralph Lauren's Polo Crest. I don't think this fragrance was around too much, but man, this stuff is amazing, and I can't believe I have a bottle. Don't have a cap though. I'm gonna have to put a cap on here from one of the Polo Greens. But this stuff smells super, super divine. Absolutely love it. Takes me back to the early 90s. This is from the early 90s, and it's just basically a take on Polo Green with leather, pine, basil, oak moss, cedar, caraway, patchouli, amber, carnation, and artemisia. Beast mode to the max. Very, very long lasting. Smells super, super amazing. I love this kind of powerhouse, kind of masculine offerings that they used to do back in the day, and this stuff does not disappoint. This is how much I have, and I'm fine with using it sparingly. This is Polo Crest from the house of Ralph Lauren, and I can't live without it. Anyway, those are my thoughts on these discontinued fragrances that I can't live without. Let me know what your thoughts are on these fragrances. Also put down, comment, and let me know what discontinued fragrances you can't live without. I'd like to find out. But either way, guys, thanks so much for watching today's video. If you have any questions or comments, please do list below. Please like this video. Please share it. Follow me on Instagram and Facebook. And I'll be back with more videos very soon. Have a good one. Goodbye. And last but not least, I wanted to highlight this or these two fragrances from the house of Guerlain. I wasn't able to feature them in my Europe haul video, but I was able to find these vintage bottles, vintage fragrances. One of them actually smells great from a flea market or like an antique sale or something that I ran into in France. And I was shocked I was able to get them such great price because I've been wanting these bottles in their vintage look. This is from the house of Guerlain. It's Heritage in two different bottles, as you can see here. Really can't believe I found these, and they're really great. The one in the darker color smells really, really wonderful. I believe the one in the light color doesn't have any smell. But this stuff, wow, I wore a little bit of it by dabs. Really, really great. But these bottles are gorgeous. Really wonderful bottles. I can't believe how beautiful these bottles are. Really great design, but you can really see the design here in this larger bottle. What do you guys think of this? This is amazing. These bottles, really architectural, and I love it. It's very Art Deco-ish. It looks like buildings or something, but really, really so fortunate to be able to buy these bottles since I collect vintage fragrances, and I'm so excited about these two fragrances. Well, heritage in 2 different sizes. Anyway, that's all I have for you guys. Thanks so much for watching. Bye.